So in this video, I'm going to teach you how to use a speedlight like this to make pictures like this. And you might be thinking, well, yes, you just put a big softbox on it, on an umbrella, and you take those pictures. Well, no, that's not quite it. There's more to it than that. And I just used the bare flash. I didn't use any modifiers to take these pictures. So in this video, I'm going to explain to you how, and hopefully some of you might find this useful and learn something in the process. So speedlights like this type of flash that goes on top of a camera can also be mounted off camera onto a light stand. And speaking of light stands, this is the one that I use for these kind of shoots, and I use it for wedding photography as well, and it is the Manfrotto 5001B. It is a lightweight, cheap and very compact, does have a bit of wobble in it, light stand that you can use for doing stuff like this. It's not going to carry a large weight on it, but it's perfect for using a little speedlight. Now normally you'll see speedlights paired with a device like this, which allows you to clamp the speedlight in and then put the light stand here, and then you've got a hole to put an umbrella through, or this is a Bowens mount and you can mount various different soft boxes or beauty dishes and so on to it, and that allows you to modify the light and change it. But in this video we're going to talk about how light moves and how light works, so you can understand how to use a light like this without any modifiers on it to create soft light. And in order to do that, we have to understand how the inverse square law works, which I know, yeah, sounds kind of boring, and it is. I'd have to say in physics terms, I don't know how the inverse square law works, but I know enough about it in photography terms for me to be able to use it. And that's what I'm going to pass on to you guys here so you can understand how this works. So essentially what we need to know is the inverse square law says that light diminishes or gets weaker very quickly as it leaves the light source. So as the light comes out of our flash, it drops in power very rapidly. And then once it's traveled a little bit, it starts to decrease very gradually. Let me give you an example of this. If I was lighting a wedding reception and it's the dance, if I put my flash off where, let's say where the DJ is, I have to put it up to a fair power for the light to reach the dance floor. But by the time it's reached the dance floor, it's done the initial big power drop, and then I get quite an even light across the entire dance floor. So I'm not getting super bright at one end and really hardly anything left at the other. As the light leaves the flash, it falls off very quickly, and then it falls off incredibly gradually. So as long as we're out of that close range from the flash, that sort of 1.5 meters or so from the flash, at that point, the light fall off is very gradual. So that means on our dance floor, the exposure is going to be fairly even across the dance floor, which is useful in that situation where we're talking about portraits. I just wanted to use a bigger example like that to make it clear in your mind what I'm talking about. So how do I use this for portraiture? Well, a different way of looking at this is that I need to do two things. If I'm lighting the scene that you saw in this picture, I want my lighting from the left of the picture to the right of the picture to be falling off gradually. I want the flash to be further away. I still want the left to be brighter than the right, but I don't want it to be really bright on the left and pitch black on the right. I'm not after that in this instance. Inverse square law says that my light has to be far away. But I have one more problem. I also want the light to be soft. And so the other thing that we need to know about light is that the larger the light source is, the softer the light is. So soft light effectively appears to wrap around our subject here. Light doesn't wrap around anything. If we have a large enough light source, that light source is large enough that the light appears to come from so many different angles that it kind of looks like it's wrapping around the person. It has a good spread. We need a large light source to do that. If we have a hard light source, which is a small light source, then what we're going to get is very straight shadows, and that's not the look I'm after here. So let's say I'm shooting in a fairly small room, like a living room, and this is my light source. So I have a short distance and a really small light source. I'm in trouble because this isn't going to work. This isn't going to give me the lighting that I'm after. But what can I do to increase the distance? Let's start with that. Well, what I can do is instead of taking the flash and aiming it at my subject here, I've got a wall off to the side. I can turn it and aim it at the wall. So I can put this on a light stand near me and aim it at the wall. The next thing that happens is when that light hits that wall, the light will spread from the flash as it comes out, and it will light a relatively large area on that wall. Then from our subject's perspective, that wall now becomes the size of the light source. The light source itself is here. So now what we have is a large light source for our subject, which is now the wall. So we've increased the size of the light source. But in terms of our light fall off, we've increased the distance because the light is coming out, hitting the wall, and then coming back. So now we've got all of this distance involved. The light fall off is very fast here. And by the time it hits the wall, it's already decreasing. The rate of fall off is already decreasing. And when it comes back to our subject, we're in that zone where the light fall off is more gradual. So it's still falling off, so we're still going to get a difference from left to right, but it's much more gradual. But you may be also questioning, could you not just put this onto your camera and just shoot with it tilted to the side and pointing at the wall? The answer to that is a sort of kind of, but not entirely. And the reason for this is that you really want to maintain the same angle for the light all the time. So you have consistent lighting hitting your subject. It would in fact work to have this on the camera and aim it to the side and bounce it off the wall. But it would be a more consistent experience for you as a photographer to put the flash onto a light stand first. Because when you're moving the camera around, you will get all these different tilts and angles as you do different compositions. And that's not going to be a consistent light source. It's going to be exaggerated by the fact that when I do a small tilt here, by the time that's hit the wall and come back, it's going to exaggerate the angle. The other question you might have though is, isn't that light coming in at the wrong angle? Well, no, it depends what you call the wrong angle. So I like to side light like this with a large light source. And that gives me this softer wash of light coming across, which is more dramatic and more interesting to look at. The reason these pictures look more sort of drawn painterly like this is two things. One is the lighting. You need to create texture and dimension, and to do that you need to have side light like this. That's the first step. The second step is you need to edit correctly for this style as well. And it just so happens that I have a studio portrait photography workshop available online. And the advantage of doing this for you is that it will shave off so much time of trying to fiddle around and learn different things in Photoshop and Lightroom and understand the concepts involved in editing, which most people just never get to. They never get to that point. They try, they get frustrated, they learn a little bit here and there, but they never really figure it out. In this online workshop, I'll just explain to you how I get these different looks and how you can do them, and you can watch me edit whilst I explain to you exactly what I'm doing and why I'm doing it, so you can learn how to edit your pictures. Having the lessons in one place like this saves so much time of going around and trying to learn different bits of techniques and different editing things and trying to put it all together and not necessarily really understanding the concepts behind them properly. So if you want to get ahead and get ahead quickly, check out the link in the description down below, and there's even a little discount code there for you that you can use at checkout. Anyway, that's all for today. I will see you again in the next video. Take care. Bye-bye.